Hi. I'm pretty sure that we all have seen the Metro leaks by now. If you didn't, here they are. But I do not want to talk about the leaks themselves, since there are other YouTubers who have great videos about them. What I want to talk about instead is, why is there a pantograph on the 777? And I wasn't the only one who noticed that. A lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, have complained about this since the 777 doesn't use the OLE system. But when the SCR devs decide to add something, there's always a reason behind it. So I looked into this for a bit, and I think I have an answer. So this video will be split up into 4 different parts. So, firstly, I want to talk about why the 777 is powered by a pantograph in SCR, and how that happened in real life. Secondly, I want to talk about some realistic reasons behind why the developers decided to power the 777 with a pantograph. Thirdly, I want to talk about some reasons that could contribute to the lore of SCR. And lastly, how will this affect the network? So, it will be sorted. Anyways, let's get into the video. This is Merseyrail, a commuter network that connects central Liverpool with its surrounding area. And in 2016, Merseyrail decided to get new trains that would replace the old 507 and 508 stock. But they had thought into the future too. That's why the Class 777 is designed to be fitted with a pantograph. That's because of a policy about third rail, which doesn't allow Merseyrail and pretty much all the other train companies in Britain to expand, that is about third rail. This is how pretty much all third rail tracks look like right now, and health is a big concern. To sum it up, the third rail is unshielded, so if you would touch the third rail even the slightest, well. But a shielded third rail has a cover around the rail, so as long as you don't touch it from the bottom, you will be fine. But Merseyrail and pretty much all the other third rail lines do not have that, so they aren't able to expand. That's why the Class 777 is able to be fitted with a pantograph. That pantograph just doesn't exist right now, but it is likely that the 777 trains will receive one in the future. So, that explains why there's a pantograph on the Class 777 trains in SCR, and why it will be real sooner or later.
But a Class 777 with a pantograph doesn't exist right now, so it's unrealistic.
Well, you're not wrong, but this has happened to SCR a long time ago. When SCR hit 1 million visits back in 2018, they added a Class 730 with a special livery to celebrate the milestone. But the very first 730 trains were actually unveiled in September 2020, so SCR had a train that was technically still a concept.
But what about the Class 444 and the Class 458?
Well, the reason is, unlike the Class 465 and 508, these trains aren't that old in real life. I don't know any trains that look similar and that could replace them, and they are already meshed. So removing them is just going to make the situation worse. So, that should explain why the 777 has a pantograph in SCR. Since we know why the Class 777 is able to be powered with a pantograph, we want to know why the developers chose to power the Class 777 with a pantograph in SCR. Here are a few realistic reasons that could have led to the decision. The first and most obvious one would be that there's not enough time. I mean, third rail doesn't currently exist in SCR, so the developers would have to spend a lot of time on removing the overhead line electrification equipment, then putting some third rail next to the tracks, and that would take a lot of time. So, placing a pantograph is going to resolve a lot of these issues. Another realistic reason could be the SCR community. If you have seen Matty X 2013's videos, you probably know how he tried setting up some third rail onto the tracks on the Whitefield line. And these tracks did not look good for a third rail section. So, even if the developers would have decided to add third rail, the SCR community would have most likely complained about how bad and unrealistic the third rail looked. This could pressure the developers to fully mesh the tracks in SCR, which would take a while. Well, that's definitely not a lot. But if you have any reasons towards why the developers could have chosen to power the 777 like that, feel free to comment down below. I will read your comments, even though it seems like I don't. The lore of SCR is big, and pretty much everything that was added has a reason that created lore. Like an April Fool's joke, which instantly turned into reality and left a lagging sensation in my brain. Yes, Metro did also decrease a few YouTubers' Wi-Fi connection, but I was kind of ready. So, since the 777 is going to have a pantograph, there also has to be a reason that has a relation with the lore of SCR. Now, I am not sure if the first reason is about the lore and the realism, but it can be a mix of both. So, since the Metro network seems to be more new like the Elizabeth line in London, and SCR is meant to also simulate the realism of the UK railways, I think that third rail just wouldn't make sense. I mean, I have never seen anything similar to shielded third rail in the UK, and the third rail that the UK has now is against the policy. It is hard for myself to explain this, but if the Metro network is new, they have to build with modern safety standards. And third rail seems to have become unpopular in the past years. Every single new train project in the UK is either equipped for trains with a pantograph or trains that run on diesel. So, SCR building the Metro network with a pantograph would make more sense, since Metro will be able to expand and the network is safer. But I hope that you will get the point. Also, if the Class 777 is equipped with a pantograph and is running on a new network, that can mean that adding more and especially old trains wouldn't make sense, since why have multiple stock if one is enough? You can also see that on the Elizabeth line in London. Also, this will stop making the community think that the Class 465 and 508 will make a return. Even though this isn't much either, you still have the option to speculate yourself, to leave your own thoughts and speculations, and then being able to prove how right you are. We know now that Metro will run on AC power. This means that the Class 465 and 508 will not make a return. But since Metro will share tracks with Connect, and I believe that the area past Stepford Central will finally receive a major upgrade, I wouldn't say that there's really anything else that could affect the network. This will mean, as I talked about in the video, that the Class 777 will most likely be the only train that will release with Metro. I would also say that the Class 555 might be added in future updates, since it does have a few similarities with the Class 777. This also means that there will most likely never be a DC-powered line, or a line that the Class 777 will use its battery for. Another train that might join the Metro network at one point could be the Class 345. It sounds strange, but, you know, I'd like to mark my words. Most likely, all the trains on Metro will run on AC power. Well, that's all I have to tell you. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to share your thoughts, feel free to do that. And thank you for watching this video. Bye.